right, I'm going to show you how to throw a spout today. Unlike a handle, you do not have to add it the day that you make it. It is more like a pot. When you make a pot, you can put it in a bag and you can trim it a week later, a month later, it doesn't really matter as long as it's covered. So with your spout, you can throw it today and you can add it next week, and that's fine. We only have 6 wheels, so some people will probably want to throw a spout today. We'll need people throwing pretty much every day so that everyone can get through and throw one. Okay? You're going to start with pugged clay or throwing clay. You're going to wedge it. Okay? You need quite a bit of clay. We're going to do what's called throwing off the hump. Okay? Throwing off the hump is something that throwers do when they want to make a lot of small things. Okay? And they don't want to have to clean their bat between each pod or each cup or whatever they're making. In this case, a spout. Okay? So you're going to wedge it. You're going to pick a wheel. Throw it down in the middle. Make sure it's stuck. Okay, a lot of these steps are going to be the same as throwing a pot. Okay, you're just going to do them in a different order. All right, so I have it stuck on here. I have my bowl of water. I have my small sponge, and you need a thin needle tool. So we have thicker ones. You need a thin one. Okay, you're going to turn on high. Add some water, and then you're going to center. If you remember, you center by putting one hand on the side, one hand on the top, and you push with your side hand. Your elbows are down, you're hunched over, and you're making it still, okay? If you need to cycle it, if you're having trouble centering, remember you can cycle it by pulling it up, pushing it back down, and that kind of redoes it and makes it kind of like a starting point again. The nice thing about throwing a spout is you don't have to be completely centered. Yay, right? Because centering is the hardest part. Okay, so I'm going to get as centered as I can. That's all right. Okay, and now we're going to make the hump. So I'm not completely centered, but that's okay. I have my hands here, just like when I'm centering. You're going to take your fingers and you're going to dig a divot into the clay. So I'm here, like I'm centering. And I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to dig a divot. Okay? Now this is the hump, and this extra clay you're not doing anything with right now. Okay? So pretend like this top part is the only clay that you have on your bat. So I'm going to take this clay and I'm going to push it to make it a little bit smaller. Okay? So now I'm just throwing with this. Make sense? Okay? This is all extra that I'll use later. So I'm going to center just the top part, and this is where we do need to make sure it's centered, okay? So I'm holding my hands up here, I'm not down here, I'm up here, I'm just centering the top part. When my hands don't move, that means it's centered, so I'm pretty well centered, okay? So I have this centered part on the top, I have extra on the bottom, okay? From this point, it's gonna be just like a pot, but it's gonna be opposite, because if I put a hole in it right now, my spout's gonna have a really big opening at the end, and we don't want that. Okay, you want a spout with a small opening, unless your teapot's huge. So you're going to start by pulling up the walls first, which is opposite of what you would do with the pot, because normally you would open up the middle first, right? Because you all remember. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back on high. I'm going to take my palms. I'm going to push towards the middle. See, my fingers are interlaced because your hands are always working as a team. I'm just going to go up. So I'm going to push and I'm going to slowly go up. You want to make your palms as flat as possible when you're doing this. And you can kind of use like this part back here, whatever really works for you. Okay, so now you can see I have the shape of a spout. The only thing it's missing now is the hole. I'm going to turn it on low now. It's just easier to work with that way. This is not flat on top, so I'm just going to hold this steady, and I'm going to stab it and cut that so it's nice and even. Okay, so now I have a flat top. Now you're going to put the hole in it. So if I tried to use my fingers, that would be a crazy mess. Okay, so you're actually going to use your needle tool. So you're going to get your needle tool wet. You're going to hold your spout with your left hand, your non-dominant hand. So if you're left-handed, you'll be opposite. And you're going to stab straight down your spout. You have to go like in the middle. Try not to come out the side. I wouldn't go much farther than this because you need something to grab onto to make sure you can take it out. Okay. It does not have to go all the way to the bottom because after these are dry, you're going to turn them over and you're going to scoop them out and you're going to thin them out and you're going to cut them and make them however you need to make them. Okay. So it doesn't need to go all the way through, just a little bit. So I'm going to take this out. If you want to thin out the walls, you know when you're throwing a pot, you put one hand on the inside and one hand on the outside and you push with your inside hand and you thin them out that way. You can do the same thing with your needle tool. So I can stick my needle tool back in here and I can push towards my hand and I can go up and try to thin that out. Now I just told you that you would be turning these over and scooping them out. So that step isn't super necessary because sometimes students do that and it just all comes crumbling down. So if you're not really sure, I would just not do that and then you can do it later by hand. Okay. So once you have your spout, it has a hole in it. It's nice and clean. So I maybe take my sponge, clean it off. You need to take it off the wheel. This is the fun part. You're gonna get your non-dominant hand wet. Hold it like you're gonna catch it, because you are, okay? And then you're gonna stab it right about here. Okay, you want as much room as possible because you can always cut off. It's gonna be harder to add, so give yourself plenty of room. So you're here, you're gonna cut under it until the wood goes under the spout, and then it'll lift off. And you put it on the board. Okay? So there's a spout. Now, I'll let you turn this back on high, and you get to do it again. Okay, that's why we throw off the hump, because now you can throw another one right away. So I can center this. Okay, I can make a hump, so I'm here with my fingers. Okay, so I've made my spout part, and then I'm going to center this part. And then what's my next step? Pull up. So with my palms, I'm going to pull up. That got wobbly. Okay, and then what's my next step after this? Trim the top, so I'm going to turn it on low. If it's got a spiral like that, that means you're going too fast, which I am. Okay, so I can cut the top part off. I can put my hole in there. Make sure you get it wet so that it slides out easier. Okay, if I want to, I can thin it out. And then I can clean it up. And then take it off the wheel. Okay, there's another one. So, you will make at least 2. But look, I could make another one. Okay, you can just keep going. Alright? You have to make 2 because you'll like one better than the other. And it will probably be your second one that you'll like better than your first one. Also, I've been known to drop these when I'm helping people. So you want to have that extra one in case I do that to yours. Okay? You want to have 2 just in case. Alright? Now, if you're thinking that you want to do something to your spout, maybe you want it to curve or you want it to be square, this is still how you start. Okay? If you want it to curve, you might cut just a little bit off and add some coils to curve it, or if it gets dry enough, you could probably curve it just by hand. If you want to flatten it, you can flatten it. Okay, if you want to make 3 intertwined, we can figure that out somehow. Dustin, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Okay, but this is how you're going to start with your spout, even if it doesn't look just like that when it's done. Okay, once you have at least 2 done, you're going to put them in a bag, put them on your shelf, and then when you're ready to attach them, you'll put them in front of the fan just like you do when you're trimming, and let it dry a little bit, and then I'll show you how to attach those later. And if you want to attach it today, just put it right by the fan. Okay, any questions? Pretty exciting stuff. It's hard, I'm sorry. Okay? All right, good to work.
Also,
Yes, you can. Let me get
I
it.
think I can get 2 out of it.